Welcome to My Spoony Sisters, featuring stories from special guests dedicated to empowering those with chronic illness. Our goal? To connect people and provide the support and tools they need to live a better life. For those with chronic illness, our energy levels just fade faster. We must be more purposeful with the spoons allotted to us. So grab your coffee or tea, sister, and tune in as My Spoony Sisters share stories of living with chronic illness. Hi, my Spoony Sisters. I'm your host, Gracefully Jen, and I am so thrilled to bring to you another new Spoony Sisters, at least new to me. Hi, Suzy. How are you today?
Hi. I'm good, Jen. I have 2 spoons, but I'm hoping I can be a contribution, to your listeners. And for me, this is what it's like having chronic illness. It's like you do your best. You show up with whatever you've got. So
Absolutely.
I'm here, excited to be here with you.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think it's good that sometimes we as guests come on and share what it's really like. We're not always going to have a full spoon day. We're sometimes going to have brain fog. And so these episodes may not be perfect, but we're not perfect. And I think that's what's so important to share with our community.
Yeah, I do too. I'm moving away from that need to be perfect that I had for a long time. It just wasn't serving me. And I think that's one of the gifts of having chronic illness is I just couldn't do it all anymore. I couldn't pretend that everything was okay because it was just so obviously not. So yeah, I love that. Just showing up and accepting that whatever happens, today is enough and I'm enough and it's all good.
Yes, you are always enough just as you are. There is no reason for us to put up smoke and mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want to start out by giving us a little bit of your backstory and tell us about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I had a 15-year career as a case manager with Veterans Affairs. And I started to notice towards the end that I was having a lot of difficulty with my symptoms. I was diagnosed with polymyositis it was around 2011. And I kept it really quiet. I was doing the pretending it's okay thing. But it got to a point in about 2019 or 2020, end of 2019, where I was having a lot of falls. So this condition, first of all, it's like a chronic, it's rare. So not many people have heard about it. It's in the autoimmune family. And it causes progressive muscle loss and muscle wasting, fatigue, chronic fatigue. So I was having falls and I was having accidents and the mobility it was horrifying. It kept declining. And I wasn't getting support. I was trying to keep it quiet. So it was really difficult emotionally because I was working in a fairly stressful job. My clients had PTSD and addictions and it was a really busy sort of caseload. So it became a lot. And I found, with the medical appointments that we need to go to with chronic illness and just the day-to-day reality of managing with fewer spoons, that it was too much for my nervous system. And I was really feeling a lot of stress and overwhelm. So I was a person who up until then was really low maintenance at work. It's what my manager loved about me. I would just keep my head down and work and was a good employee and a dream to manage. And then all of a sudden she asked me to do an extra project. And I said, I had to be honest. I said, I'm just keeping up with the basics. And here's what's going on for me. And I started to cry. And I was not somebody to express my emotions like that. But I was at that point of overwhelm. And she was incredible. I am so grateful to her to this day because she said to me, you don't have to struggle like this. there's support available. So we talked about options, and I needed to get my head around, wow, actually allowing myself to apply for disability when I was trying to do it all and keep it all together and not need help, and was worried of the stigma of that and letting my clients down and my colleagues down, and, really focused on other people. And what I needed to do was to focus on myself, to turn inwards, and really see that sometimes it is okay to ask for help. But that was the beginning of the process when I didn't have those skills. And it really took, and that's one of the gifts of this illness, is it took the entire, I want to say 3 years that I was on disability. I've just recently retired because that's one of the benefits of working for the federal government in Canada. If you're on disability and you're not recovering, that this is an option for you. So it really took the whole 3 years for me to get that I could advocate for myself, that I was worthy of support, and all of the other things that I learned along the way. So it's been a journey. And so right now I'm in a life transition, and I'm a space holder. I am a writer, and I am moving into my next chapter of speaker and coach and healthy love teacher. And so really this is a time of personal transformation. That's what I've been doing a lot of in this break, in this disability break, and now retirement, is really focusing on the things that I didn't have time for, or the spoons for, because I was working a really stressful 8-10 hour job. And now I can turn inwards and really pay attention to my body and my needs and follow my passions and what's important to me. So excited to be in this new phase. And yeah, it's lots of change right now.
Well, wow. I mean, it sounds like there was about 8 years where you were holding it in and holding it together as best as you could at work. And I commend you for that, because I don't know if I could take 8 years of holding it in and doing it alone.
Thank you. It was such a gradual process, like the decline in my body and the symptoms, that it's kind of like, have you heard the analogy of the frog who will slowly boil to death in hot water if you just gradually increasing the temperature? Kind of horrifying image, but it's like that. Like, I didn't notice how much it was affecting me until it got to that point of overwhelm. I wasn't tuned in enough at that point to my inner experience. And I was so codependent and focused on other people and, all that stuff, people pleasing, that I was really trying to be a good employee, trying to be productive, trying to serve my clients, not be a bother to my manager, all of that stuff that was really not taking care of me. So I think that's what fueled that. And so the gift again of the illness is it kind of knocked me down, literally, like with a bunch of falls and injuries, and said, hey, wake up, Suzy, like you need help. And that was the beginning of, okay, I guess there's something here for me. Like, I need to look at it. I can't deny it anymore. I was in denial.
It's interesting to me because I was diagnosed with RA in 2012. So, kind of almost similar time frame as you. And it's interesting when we're further down the road, as we are right now, to look back and see where we were at and how the process went. And I think it's great when we're 10 or 12 years down the road to be able to look back and help others that are newly diagnosed and struggling the way that we either didn't see at the time or we were overwhelmed with at the time. Have you had people reach out to you to ask questions or for support? Calling all Spoonies. As a host of a chronic illness podcast, nothing lights up my day more than hearing from you, our incredible listeners. Whether it's a topic close to your heart that you want us to uncover, or you are keen to show your own journey as a guest on our show, Your voice matters. Living with chronic illness can often feel isolating, but through the power of podcasting, we can come together as a community to uplift, educate, and inspire one another. Your stories, insights, and questions drive the conversations we have and the topics we explore. So if there's something on your mind, a story that you are just itching to share, or a guest you'd love to hear from, don't hesitate to reach out. Your voice is not only welcomed here, but celebrated. Let's continue to amplify the voices of those living with chronic illnesses and create a space where everyone feels heard, supported, and empowered. Together, we are stronger.
It's new for me, Jen, to actually be loud and proud about my illness. So I would say that process is beginning now. I do freely talk about it and I share what's worked for me, but I'm also sensitive about not wanting to, I guess, preach or teach people unless they ask me like, hey, like I've got this condition or I'm experiencing pain or overwhelm. And then I might gently guide them to resources that have helped me. But I start with just listening. So I think that's where I needed it. I needed somebody to care, first of all, and to notice. So I will check in with people if I know they're struggling with something and ask how they're doing. And then to just be there to listen. That's what I meant by space holding earlier, is offering that empathic, compassionate listening so that somebody feels deeply heard and that they matter and they're cared for. And I think that's my biggest skill or strength that I bring to people. And I'm a little shy about, mentioning resources because I had so many people on my journey try to fix me. I'd tell them I had autoimmune and I got this diet and I had a friend who recovered and then I feel that, I can't talk to this person about my illness anymore because I didn't go on that diet and they're going to think that I'm not doing my bit because I didn't follow their advice. And so I get this over and over. So I think that's why I'm quite sensitive about offering things. But if there's an opening, if someone's asking me, sure, I will. I'll let them know, well, this may not be what you need, but here's what worked for me. So that's the phase I'm moving into, is the coaching and the teaching. But it's a journey. It's a journey for me to really feel okay about sharing my wisdom with somebody.
It's going to get easier. The more people that ask you, it's going to get easier. But I definitely can sympathize with you. I had people always telling me, oh, well, have you tried, cutting out sugar? And have you tried this? And have you tried that? Or here's this cream that I love. And depending on the person and how close we were, I had to either just try to explain myself or move on, because some people get it and some people don't, or don't want to get it. And so really what we have to do is just take care of ourselves. And that's priority over trying to argue and over explain it to someone that doesn't want to get it.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, just listening to you, I think you would make a great therapist.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jen. I believe it or not, I hear that a lot. I hear that I'd be a great therapist or coach. So I'm having to internalize that and make that part of my identity, because it is a shift. And so I do want that. I do see that for myself in the future. And you're helping me. This is actually my first time going public with my story. Yeah, I'm really grateful to you. Thank you.
I'm so honored that you reached out to me and that we can share your story. I don't know how to explain it to people, but you have this calm that, talking to you, looking at you, it's just you share this calm. And that's why I think so many people think you would make such a good therapist or a coach, because you just somehow spread it out. I don't know how you do it, but it's just kind of coming out your pores.
That feels really good to hear. Because people need that. People struggling from chronic illness, it is as much about our nervous system as it is about the actual illness or diagnosis or what's going on in the body. There's so much influence that our nervous system plays. And I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of time freaking myself out about my symptoms. Like, oh my God, when is this going to go away? Oh, it keeps getting worse. How am I going to fix this? I don't know what to do. Let me call this person. Let me search on the web. And that never led anywhere productive. It just really reinforced that message to my nervous system that I'm not safe and I'm not okay and I'm not going to be okay. So there's this part inside of me that was terrified and hopeless that I was never going to recover. There was no hope. So why even bother? Like, why bother exercise? Why bother, doing these treatments? And I became kind of apathetic. So with you telling me that I bring this calm, I think that's what we all need when we have a chronic illness, is we need to learn, first of all, receive that from others is really helpful, but then how to learn to do that for ourselves so that we're not freaking our nervous system out and making things worse, because stress is the biggest sort of impact on our health. I would like to be able to serve in that way, to help people to know how to do that for themselves.
And I also think it's so important for people to recognize that you still have so much to offer. So your life might look different. You might not be able to do the job you used to do and loved, but everyone has so much to offer. And so it's kind of, I don't want to say exciting, but in a way it can be an exciting journey to find yourself and redefine yourself and see what you've been blessed with in your life as a skill set to offer to others. And so many in our community have been blessed with the knowledge and the courage and the empathy for others to help support people. And I think that's fabulous. There's so many amazing people in the community. And, as much as I hate how I feel sometimes, I wouldn't change it. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't change it because it's made me who I am today.
I couldn't agree more. I have learned so much from this illness. And it's like a university education that we get, isn't it? With this, like the amount of lessons that come with it. And like you said, the empathy and the compassion, because we can see people now. Like when I'm walking outside, going to the grocery store, I see the people that are struggling. I see the elderly people that feel invisible. I see somebody struggling to get something off a shelf, and I make them feel visible. I talk to them. I ask them if they need support. And that's a gift that we all bring, because we know what it's like to struggle and to be afraid to ask for help, or to think that help isn't possible, or that we don't deserve it, or all those things that we may have heard. And so to be able to reach out to someone and offer that, just the first thing, like, I see you and I care, and I get that you're struggling, and how can I help?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes I feel like we can even see it in their eyes. So even if it's not visible with their movements, the moment you connect and you see someone eye to eye, you can just see that there's something going on there. And it can be the checkout lady at the grocery store. It can be anyone. And I love the fact that it's made so many of us more open to that and more open to supporting people around us.
I can't wait to meet the people in your community. I don't have an active presence on social media, so I haven't done really a dive into your, to look at your followers and the contributions there. But from what you've said, I think I'd really enjoy doing a bit of that and meeting these folks.
Oh, 100%. I feel like I could give you a list of 30 people that you would absolutely love.
Wow.
So
30 new friends. I would love that.
absolutely. So How did this illness teach you to advocate for yourself?
Mm. Wow. It started when I began that disability process. So my manager was encouraging me to look at options, and we started by reducing my caseload, and then that wasn't enough. That just sort of increased the stress because I had less time to do quite a bit. And so I began to look at disability, and I needed a doctor to support that and fill out the forms. And the first doctor that I had was great in the sense that she enabled me to go on an alternative off-label medication that I had heard did wonderful things for people with autoimmune. And so I was grateful for that, but then I needed more support. I needed the disability application. And her belief was that the best thing for people who have illness or chronic illness is to do more, like to be active. So she didn't quite get the spoon theory at all. And she also didn't get that I am quite active. I have personal interests. I have things that would nourish me and keep me off the couch and eating candy or whatever the image she had of people who go on disability. They just kind of give up on life. She was trying to protect me from that. So I didn't get the support that I was looking for. And I realized, wow, like I do need this help. So it was really challenging for me. But I thought, well, I need a new doctor. So I began to research. And with the next doctor, we did a meet and greet, and I let him know I may need support from you one day. Here's what's going on with me, and I may need help to apply for disability. Is that something you're okay with? He's like, absolutely. If my clients feel that they need this, like or my patients, I believe them. And that's what I needed to hear, because I think we are experts at our body and what we're needing. And somebody who just sees us for a 15-minute visit, they really don't have a clue or much of an understanding of what the day-to-day life is like. Yes, I may look okay, and you may not see anything visibly going on with me, but if you ask me about my day, it's a very different story. So he was very supportive, and he was also supportive of me continuing with natural health treatments. I had done 15 years, I think it was, of the traditional medications and nothing else really. And that didn't move the needle for me. I kept declining. So I went to the natural approach and started to combine them, and then needed support around that. So yeah, he was great. But that was me advocating to move away from the other doctor, as uncomfortable as that was, to interview the next person. And each time I had to fill out those disability application forms, I needed to go through a process of, wow, like worthiness almost. Like I didn't feel worthy of the help or the support. And a couple of therapists helped me with that. Like, it's not about being worthy of it. It's about you need it. And people are here to support you. You just need to ask. You just need to own that, hey, this is what's going on and I need help. And when I started doing that, people were so generous and offering to assist and support me. And so I've been really blessed with the disability system and the medical system here. And now where I'm at is learning to be loud and proud with my illness. And so the last few months, it's about learning to talk to friends and family about what's going on. And also newer connections that I only know on Zoom. And when I go out to meet friends, I need to to ask, like, is the bathroom on the main level? Do you know? Or sort of just to check out, I'll do the research ahead of time and find out about whether I can handle it mobility wise. If I'm going to a picnic, is there a picnic table? Because I can't get up off the ground. And being able to receive support as well. Like if I'm out at a restaurant with a friend, sometimes the chair is too low and I'm unable to get up on my own, and a friend will see me struggling. And at first it was really hard to accept offers because it's kind of an intimate thing, helping somebody get out of their chair. And I started to allow that. And also with my dietary needs, I try to eat low inflammatory. So since about 2016, I've cut out gluten and dairy and a few other things. And that's a little bit hard when you go out for dinner or you're invited places. And now I'm not embarrassed to let people know ahead of time. And then that way I can bring my own food or make my own arrangements. Or sometimes they will also have a similar diet and have things there, and they'll let me know the options. So checking out the food options. And my mom even offered me to start making gluten-free pies. Last Thanksgiving, we had a pumpkin pie. And yeah, I was really touched, because I had hid this side of me that I was finicky about food. I thought that they would judge that or something. And all of a sudden I was able to talk about it. And my mom said, "Oh, that's why you haven't been eating dessert, and you must feel so left out. And I would love to do this for you. Can you send me a recipe and let me know where to get the stuff?" And so just letting people know and then seeing that support is there. I had been cutting myself off from receiving it.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And that had to feel so good to have that pie.
Oh, it was the best pumpkin pie I had ever had, my partner had ever had. It was delish, like so good. It's a medical medium recipe. I love his recipes. And yes, it felt so good to matter. I think that's what I really felt is, oh, my needs matter and my mom really cares. She wants to support me in this. She wants me to enjoy dessert. And yeah, that was very moving. It was really, a great experience.
Okay, so how have you adapted to your declining mobility over the years?
Good question. It's, I think, a lot about being resourceful. With chronic illness, we see that the changes tend to be gradual, but then all of a sudden there's a new thing that we can't do anymore. Right? And it's upsetting. It brings up feelings, and it also brings up needs. Like, okay, how am I going to work around this? Again, I don't want to freak out my nervous system, but I realized that I need support now to get off my toilet. So that was one of the first ones. And so it was enlisting my partner to help me research, letting him know, here's my needs. He would see it anyway. Like I was falling a lot when I was out walking. And so we got these walking poles, and now I can go for a hike on gentle or flat terrain, still in the woods, but something that doesn't have steep slopes or stairs, when I use my walking poles for support. And then I feel really safe. And we researched where to get the highest toilet seat you could. And I have a 21-inch bowl, and so I don't have to struggle. And then looking for things, actually, my friend gave me. She could see when we got together how difficult it was for me to get up. And I talked to her about the toilet adaptations that I had, been using. And I said, but it's a little harder on the go. She's like, oh, my friend gave me one of these portable urinals. I haven't used it. And here. And so I'll use that on the days where I'm having a flare up and I'm having trouble getting off the toilet, using my sort of gymnastics. Like there's a lot of things I can do using my triceps to get up. But when that fails, or there's no grab bars for support, then I can pull out the urinal. So I keep it in my purse. It's discreet. Nobody knows I'm using it, except your listeners now and whoever else, hears this. But it gives me anything to give me or give us peace of mind is worth it. And so looking for these little ways to adapt when I notice a loss of function, not going into the fear and the overwhelm, but okay, here's a new thing. Let's accept it. And what would make this easier for me? Somebody else in the world must have this problem. Let me get on Google. Let me ask, other people. And then the resources are there. Like I really haven't had to flounder. Like there's not been a situation yet, knock on wood, where I've been out and I've been completely stranded and not been able to get up. I did fall in the parking lot about a month ago at my partner's place. He wasn't around. And I knew that it's just a matter of time before somebody walks around, in this area. And I called out for help, and this big strapping guy who looked like he just came back from the gym, like the perfect person you want in that situation, came over and lifted me up by the belt loops, and that was good. So it's about trust for me, and it's about resourcefulness and asking for support, asking for help and ideas with people who are good at resourcing or researching.
Okay, so my next question for you is, are you in a support group?
Yes. Understandingmyositis.org was really beneficial for me in many ways. First of all, to learn what myositis is and what all the different variations of it are. I have polymyositis, but there's a number of others. What that did for me, especially when I was beginning to apply for disability, is it validated my experience that, yes, I have limited spoons and fatigue is part of the illness, and I'm not being lazy. And, I need help to just get through the day. And so it really validated a lot of the things that I was going through energy wise, but also just helped me to clarify what the symptoms are. And so I learned about the illness, and then it was just a great community because they would have these presentations from people that had helped others in the community. So one came on, and he talked about a form of exercise that was helping a number of myositis patients. And it's called blood flow restriction training. And so this was great because I really needed something. Exercise was challenging, but this was something that didn't require you to be a gym rat or a bodybuilder. And people actually in rehab and in hospitals can use this device and increase the amount of muscle strength that they'd be able to get from just regular exercise. So the presentations were helpful. But lately, I needed to go on because I was struggling with faith. About 2 months ago now, I was really like not knowing anybody who had recovered. It's a small community. I think there's 100,000 people, if that, in the US that have myositis. So it's hard to find people who have recovered. There's a lot of people that are still with the illness and in very severe forms. So I went on and found this woman, and I think she's a friend of yours, Angelique Ingram. And she had written a chapter in a book. Light Through the Darkness was the name of her chapter. And the book is Women Thrive. And it was co-authored by a bunch of women who talked about their recovery stories from either physical illness or mental illness or whatever hardships they'd had in their life. And so I got inspired by her. You know, she had recovered from a really severe case of, I'm not going to be able to pronounce it, dermatomyositis, I think it is. So I reached out to her. I bought her. I let her know I'd read her chapter. Could we chat? Because I needed to. Okay, I'll pause here. Let me know when you're back. Oh, I can't hear you. I can see you. I hear you now.
Okay, the recording's continuing now. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it cut you off right around talking about Angelique Ingram.
Okay. So we had a coffee chat, Angelique and I, over Zoom, and she was really helpful and inspiring and just lovely. And I told her that I am interested in moving into speaking, and she told me about you and said, hey, you know, why don't you begin doing podcasts? And I have this amazing friend, and she's got this community in the chronic illness community that you could be part of. And so just building that community, beginning to speak about my story and what's going on with my health, and contributing in any way that I can to people and to listeners. So the support through that community has been really wonderful. And I encourage anyone who is struggling to look for that, because these are the people who are going to understand you. Your friends and your family are going to really try their best, but they're not going to get it. They may assume that just because you look okay, that you can do, you know, a 6-hour get together with your family and friends and not be affected, and, you know, stuff like that. Or that, you know, you're going to enjoy this party or this gathering, or it's easy to go on vacation, or just whatever it is. And they don't get the reality of our energy level and mobility or pain or whatever symptoms your listeners are experiencing. We all have different ones. So find your community, and they will be the people that you will feel supported by, understood by, validated by. And I really needed that, because it can be so isolating, right, to have a chronic illness. And we really need to find that. So I have that. And then I have an emotional support system that's really great. And one of those is a community where we share about what's going on in our lives, and get to be really seen and heard. And that's been very healing for me. So I feel well supported. I have good friends and people who are rooting for me, you know, whether or not I get better. It's not about that anymore. It's just they want to see me thrive and be happy. And I think that's what we're all here to do. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, I have to thank you for coming and apologize. I don't know what happened with the glitch there, but I'll try to stitch it together and we'll make it work. But thank you for entrusting me and this community with your story.
It has been my honor and pleasure, Jen. Thank you.
Is there anything that we've left out that you want to make sure we get in here?
I think to let your listeners know there's so much to be hopeful for. Don't lose sight of that. Yes, you've been diagnosed with a chronic illness. Yes, you're struggling and need support, but there's so much more to you than your illness. Yeah. Yeah. We all have passions and interests that light us up. And the less focus you can put on your illness in your day, do what you need to take care of your body, but also really build in time for your passions and your interests, because that's what's actually going to give you energy and purpose and a real desire to go on, to live your best life. And that's how you contribute as well. So yeah, to not lose hope. You have so much to live for, and there's support available. Talk about your struggle too. That's really important. Make sure you get the listening that you deserve. We all deserve to be listened to and validated for where we're at. And then, yeah, just focus on living. There's lots you have to contribute. So that's
most definitely. Well, thank you again. And yeah, I cannot wait for your episode to come out. I'll look it up, but I think it's in October. And so, yeah. All right. Listeners, thank you for joining us. Get to know Suzy. She's incredible. It's been such a privilege. So until next time, don't forget your spoon. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only. Consult your own physician for any medical issues that you may be having. The information should not be taken as a replacement for medical, clinical, professional advice, diagnoses, or medical intervention. My Spoonie sisters and guests will not be held liable for any of the consequences of such action or inaction. Trigger warning. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics including, but not limited to, suicide, abuse, mental illness, and chronic disease. You are advised to refrain from listening if you are likely to be offended or adversely impacted by any of these topics. None of the guests or hosts will be responsible for your use of the information contained therein. Life is not merely to be alive, but to be well. Living a life with a chronic illness is best described with one word: unpredictable. Be Well's products are designed to make the unpredictable easier to deal with. Back when I was getting my infusions, I would have loved to have their adult zip hoodie. They even have one in pink. They also have everything from one-day pill holders to urgency buckets. So remember, they want to make your life a little easier. So be sure to check out Be Well.